Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is the BBC have decided to sack one presenter for his political views, while Gary Lineker, another one who has been saying quite political things, remains in the job. So what this story is, remember the anti-Starmer song that came out at Christmas about the freezing pensioners and all that? Well, it turns out the guy that wrote this song was a part-time presenter for BBC News in Newcastle. So he didn't sing on the song, but a little while after it came out, it was gaining a bit of traction. He decided that he wanted to help push the song. So he came out at a cover. He was invited on to some GB News interviews. And at that time, he spoke to BBC, who was his employer, on a freelance basis. And they told him, well, you'll not be working here anymore, if that's what you do. So, excuse me. And recently, we've had Gary Lineker talk very politically about a lot of things, and he wasn't sacked by the BBC, right? So, we've now got a two-tiered BBC. Confirmed, proven, crackpots, right? So I'll tell you a bit about the story. The guy's name is Chris Middleton, and as I say, he'd been a freelance news reader for BBC Newcastle, and he created the song. He'd been stripped of his job as a newsreader after revealing his identity, and the song, where are we? Yeah, because BBC said that the guidelines ban anyone working in its news and current affairs departments for expressing political opinions. So that's obviously the wee nuance they used to sack him, but not Gary Lineker, because he doesn't work in its news or current affairs department. However, it still stinks of double standards to me. So when he was speaking to GB News, Mr. Middleton said of his conversation with his BBC bosses, I was told because it was a conflict of interest, it would be against the BBC's impartiality rules. So that's a different thing they're bringing in now. If that's what they told them, is impartiality, that would come across the whole spectrum of the BBC. You know, even if you were like a kids' TV presenter, but you came out and said something of partiality. So they said that would rule against him continuing his job, while also putting out a song which, of course, was political. But the main goal of it was to raise money and raise awareness for the pensioners. So initially, he'd planned to put out the song anonymously, but started to attract media attention. He was invited onto the Martin Dobney GB News show. So he says, at that point, I had a choice. Do I stay anonymous, and maybe the song won't do as well, or do I put my face out there, put my name out there, and try to push the song as much as possible and raise awareness, knowing that potentially it would cost me my freelance job with the BBC? Well, to be perfectly honest, but a balance here. The singer's name and face was out there. That's generally how you push songs. You don't normally have the person who nobody's heard of in the background coming out, and we don't normally have the songwriters come out to try and push any songs, regardless of whether it's a charity or not. So I think he's probably made the decision not based on what was best. I think the song would have done as well with or without him pushing it, because the singer is the face of a song normally. Anyway, he opted for the latter. When I told him I was coming on the show and was going to speak about the song, that's when he said, okay, basically you can't work here anymore, unfortunately. I did have to think about it and mull it over, because it's quite a big thing in my life. I live a quiet life. All of this is beyond anything I normally do, but I made the decision that it was the right thing to do. The amount of money that's been raised, the amount of awareness that's been raised for pensioners, how well the song has done, everything that has happened over the last month has been absolutely whirlwind and absolutely brilliant. She's obviously enjoyed the profile he got, right? Let's be perfectly honest with you, but that, that should not deter his employment when you consider the Gary Lineker. So he's obviously had a bit of a laugh and a bit of a buzz, and he's wee bit of fame out of it, which is fine. I made the choice knowing what would happen. It's a shame that you can't do both of these things. It's political, but it's raising money for charity at the end of the day, which is fair enough. But if he didn't come out and blow his cover, would the song have made less for charity? It probably wouldn't have made a difference. Anyway, he'd been freelancing for 6 years, and he said, I have other work I do as well. That gave me the cushion to be able to actually do this. Had the BBC been my full income, and this is a good point, this is a great point to be fair to lad, had the BBC been my full income, now you can change BBC for NHS or whatever, police force or whatever, where anybody wants to come out and say anything, right? So listen to this carefully, because this is good. Had the BBC been my full income, as it is for lots of freelancers, then I would probably have been in a position where I wouldn't have been able to do it, because I wouldn't have had money to pay rent or food bills or for heating. That goes to show the position that some people are in. That is a great point. If it's your whole livelihood is reliant on your job, you're not going to speak out. Fantastic. That bit is really, hit home to me. That how many people out there are sitting in jobs and are saying, I would love to see this, I would love to do this, I would love to, but everybody has to pay their rent and mortgage and buy food, right? So how many people out there are not able to come out and whistleblow, etc., that would really, really like to? When it was pointed out that Gary Lineker had kept his job at the BBC despite opinioning his politics, Middleton replied, what can I say? Gary Lineker has obviously got a little bit more pull at the BBC than I did. That's fine. The BBC refused to play the song despite topping download charts in the run-up to Christmas. And here's a mad thing, right? It was on top of these charts all the way up to Christmas. But it was number 37 in the official Christmas chart. So maybe somebody in the comments can explain to me why, when you're reading the download charts, do you end up number 37? That seems quite a mad... Oh, is it official charts? Maybe count airtime, possibly. Somebody can maybe let us know. Dean Agger, that was a singer. He accused the BBC of bias and said the corruption was denying the chance to raise money for charity. I can see you've said that, but that might not be the most accurate thing. But I think what is telling is his comments about him being in a fortunate position that the BBC wasn't his only income, so he was able to do something. That's really hit home, and not necessity. Shut up, Craig. What's going on with my teeth here? Not necessarily. A lot of other people get affected by it. That would be people who just genuinely want to whistleblow. You just can't. And that makes sense to me. And that's a shame. Especially in these days, people maybe in care homes, a lot of people that are affected and close to the child grooming stuff that we're hearing now. How many people through time had the opportunity to say or do something and were held back purely because of the need to live. And that'd be a horrible position to be in. Imagine you knew something really, really bad and you wanted to speak out, but you knew fine well if you do, your income goes to zero. That's a dilemma, isn't it? And this guy was able to do what he wanted because it wasn't all his income. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, hit the like button. If you've not already done so, please hit the subscribe and the notification buttons. And your comments below, please. And please, if somebody knows how the charts work, just, can you stick that in the comments, please. But most importantly of all, I'm sure Sir Starmer, somebody that takes the audience fuel payments off them and lets them freeze in the winter. No you. But
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.